Welcome back to Flying Tiles. It's really great to have you here. Today we're going to be looking at the 2026 National Mahjong League card. I'm going to be using my chiclet sets from Mahjong Maven. I love the different colors for demonstrating the block tiles and the number of suits in one hand. I have these tiles laid out in their color families, so if you're interested in seeing how the face tiles are laid out in each category, you can put it on hold and take a look. I also want to give a shout out to Karen Goen. She is the author of Bubby Mahjong Blogspot. She did an incredible analysis of the card this year. Check her out. It's really great. In this video, I'm going to be addressing some sticky or tricky areas in the 2026 National Mahjong League card. Some we experienced last year, like the floating pair hand. We have that 2 times in this card. Okay, let's go over some basics on the card. If I go too fast, remember you can put it on pause and back it up a little bit. I'll try not to. So the green arrows are pointing to those numbers that are single tiles, 2026, 2468, and 246. No jokers there. When you see a 0 on the card, only a white dragon can be used for a 0, not any other dragon. Here we have 2 pungs of flowers. That's new, as well as a sextant of flowers. That's new too. Okay, 2, 3, 4, chow. That is single tiles. We have our floating pair again, and this time it's in the odds category. And the kongs have to be the same number as the pair in that first block of single tiles. I will be laying that hand out later on in the video. That 1, 3, 5 are singles. That 1, 2, 3, 4 here, those are singles too. Be sure to read your parentheses. That Kong of Dragons does not have to match the suit in the 1, 2, 3, 4. The National Mahjong League only uses 3 ink colors, so it can get confusing like in this hand. And there's also another one. That 2026, those are single. And here we have our floating pairs again in the 3, 6, 9. And those 2 Kongs have to match the pair in that first section, whether it's a 3, 6, or 9. And that right there, that 3, 6, 9, single tiles, no jokers. The tile blocks on the left-hand side here, you cannot use jokers in those. And we'll be going over those in detail. And then on the right-hand side here, you can use jokers to your heart's content. They can all be jokers in each of those blocks. Okay, let's take a look. So this first one, we have 3 different tiles in a block. An example is the 2, 4, 6, as well as the chow, 4, 5, 6. When you have a block of tiles with 4 different tiles, you can't use a joker. That would be 2026, as well as a news, NEWS, and then also that one we had in the winds, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we have a quint of tiles, different numbers, but 1 pair in there. And this is the floating pairs hand in the odd section. And I put the 5 bam as the pair in there. And then, of course, in pairs, no jokers. Even though the tiles are the same, there are no jokers in pairs. If the tiles are different numbers, they're considered singles. And I'm just going to push these together because this is what they look like on the card. That 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 2026, news. And then we have the 4, 5, 6, 7. I chose those numbers for that consecutive one in the winds and dragons. And then we have our floating pair right there. Another reminder is you cannot claim a discard to make any of these blocks of tiles. Only if it is your last tile for Mahjong can you claim a discard for any of these single tile blocks. We're looking on the right-hand side. Now, all of these tile blocks can have a joker in them. So a pung, a kong, a quint, and a sextant. Those can all have jokers in them. And here's an example. So we have a pung of dragons, of white dragons there. Those are all the same, and that's a pung. We have a kong of east, all east. And then we have a quint of 8 dots. And then we have our sextant of flowers, and you have to have at least 2 jokers in that, just like you have to have 1 joker in the quint. So I put up these 2 pungs of flowers, and That's how they have to be exposed if you're going to expose them on your rack. These are two separate units. They are not a sextant. And some people were getting confused on that. And I just wanted to show here that you can use jokers in all of those tiles, whether it's pung, kong, quint, or sextant. And here, again, all jokers. You can use all jokers if you're so lucky to do so. If you have a sextant of flowers, that is how it has to be played, with 6 tiles on your rack if you do an exposure, not 3 pungs. Next, let's look at some tile block patterns that are on this card. These initial patterns are the most flexible since you can have jokers in each of them. So here we have our kong, pung, kong, pung. The top one is 1 suit and the bottom is 2 suits. The orange and yellow are 2 suits. And next we have pung, pung, kong, kong. That's very common on this card. And again, you can use jokers in each of those. The top one is 1 suit, the bottom one is 2 suits. And I will be going through each category like I did with the 2025 card. But I think it's important that you're familiar with the block tile pattern on the card this year. Here we have 2026. This is a little trickier because we have pung, pung, kong, kong. However, that second pung there, since it's 0, it has to be the white dragon or soap tile, since that is 2026. You can have 3 jokers there too, representing the soap, but that is not a suit. So that is actually only a 2 suit hand. So I just wanted to point that out. And here we have another pattern. We have pair, pung, kong. This year's card is heavy on the pairs, and that's something to really watch because you have to make sure you have your pairs to make your hand. So, and the top one is 1 suit and the bottom one is 3 suits, excuse me. You see that in various categories throughout the card. I know it's in the odd category. So no jokers in those pairs. That's what I was pointing to. And here we have pair, pung, pung, kong. That's kind of fun. No jokers in the pairs, but you can have jokers in the 2 pungs and the kong. So this year, people are really going to have to pay attention to the hands that they pick because there's a lot of pairs throughout this whole card, not just one category. And not only is this true for pairs, but also the single tiles. There's a lot of single tiles throughout this hand. Okay, and here we have a pung of flowers, and then we have pair, pung, kong. And I chose flowers because they're suit neutral. And the top one, we have 1 suit. The bottom one, we have 2 suits. In the parentheses, it says that Kong of Dragons has to match the middle pair. And here we have the floating pair hand. And I chose to make the 5 dot the pair. So you can make any of those numbers a pair. You can have a pair of 1s, a pair of 3s, a pair of 5s, which I did, a pair of 7s, or a pair of 9s. And then those are all single tiles. No jokers in there. And then these kongs have to match whatever pair you have. And they have to be in different suits. So there's 3 suits total in this hand. And of course the jokers can go into the kongs. This is just like our hand that we have this year in consecutive runs. And next up, I'm showing you the floating pair in the 3-6-9. So again, we have our flowers, 3-6-9. I made the 9s the pair, and then the kongs have to be matching the pair. So since I have 9 bam as the pair, the kongs then have to be 9 crack and 9 dot. And there's an example of it. And of course, the jokers can go into the 2 kongs. It cannot go in the pair, and it cannot go in the single tiles of the 3-6-9. Next up, I'm showing the second hand down in the Winds and Dragons, where we have that consecutive single tiles of 4. And here I chose 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we have a pung, pung, kong. So you're going to be using all 3 dragons. And this is where people get confused because the ink was limited or the ink colors were limited. that Kong of Dragon does not have to match the number tiles. And I'm just moving them around here. You know, the dragons can be in any order. You just have to have a pung, 2 pungs of dragon, and then a Kong of dragons. And if you have any questions, just put them in the comments and I'll answer them as soon as I see them. Next up, we're moving over to the any like number category because this is kind of the same issue. So we have a pair of flowers and then we have a Kong. I'm choosing the number 6 for any like numbers. So as I'm waving my little pointer stick, I'm saying that that pair of dragons do not have to match that first Kong of numbers because they used green ink for that first Kong of numbers and then they used green ink for that pair of dragons. So they're limited on their ink colors. So I just am making sure that everyone knows that that pair of dragons can be any dragons. And in the parentheses, it says any 3 suits with any dragons. Again, confirming that those pair of dragons do not have to match that first Kong of numbers. The player is free to use any dragon that comes in as a pair. That is not a problem. Count your tiles and read your parentheses. I want to thank you again so much for stopping by Flying Tiles. I really do appreciate it. You might consider subscribing to Flying Tiles. In the next few weeks, I'm going to be focusing in on the categories and I'm going to be focusing in on each hand. We've got some new patterns and definitely some new hands. This is going to be a very interesting year. Take care and I'll see you in the next video.